Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 27th, 2021 at approximately 2:55 a.m. PST. Well, I found it fascinating yesterday when I came to the conclusion that life is very much like a video game. I could never figure out, until now, it never clued in why it was that so many people were attached to video games. Why they would get so far hooked up into them. But I find it fascinating that when I now take a look at it and go, okay, people have said, and I've been told before, the game that life is like a game. And oddly enough, it really is. I now have a main goal. I've got a lot of little side quests that I have to do. In order to attain said goal. In order to finish the game. But the game and the end game is always the same. You die. Now sometimes you'll come close to it. I've told people I've died several times. But the reality is, if I had died this lifetime, it would have been over. Now I've come very close to death, therefore. Waking up in the morgue, apparently I wasn't dead, but I was awfully close. And with that in mind, the game continues until such time as I'm done. Prior to that, I have two major goals. One, how about a thumbs up for the video, as well as subscribe to the video channel, because there's a whole pile of information coming out. There's a lot that's already come out. And then don't forget to ring that little bell to the right of the subscription button to get the notifications when the next video comes out. Third thing, please spread this word and spread the video to as many people as you can. The message I came back to pass on to people after all these years is simple. We are all, every single one of us, in exactly the same boat. Whatever led us to where we are, you're standing right here, right now. And in the here and now, right this moment, is the only time in your life you can ever change anything. That would be the one big part of the main quest I've got. The other one I've got is to get the Yldrbac Chronicles completely written. Now, to write the Chronicles, I got a few side quests I have to do there. A few little side errands that have to be done in order to get that one. But that gives me two complete major quests to deal with before the game is over. And I have every intention on hitting both of those. Now, of course, clearly, the shorter term one is the Yldrbac Chronicles. That one relies primarily on me doing my part. The other one, getting this message spread to everybody on the planet, whether they've got video or not. You talk to people that don't have videos, pass the message on. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. You'll notice there is no qualifier as to who the others are. This means, doesn't matter if they're the same gender as you, the same nationality, the same skin color, the same religious viewpoint, the same political viewpoint, the same financial income. None of it. Doesn't even matter if you're the same race or the same, category. Plant, vegetable, mineral, and energy. Doesn't matter what you are. Treat others as you desire to be treated. Now, that is only one of three major karmic laws. The three karmic laws, these are the only three I bother looking at. These are the only three laws because they all fit into those three, from everything I've seen. And that is, be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, energy out, energy in. So, when I came to the conclusion yesterday that life really is very much like a video game, Okay, it dawned on me, if I start looking at it like that, perhaps, just maybe, I may be able to find a way to connect with the people on this planet. Because my biggest problem I've run into is I can never find common ground. This is the first time in my life, and I've looked at a lot of different things. I mean, I'm 58 years old. Lord knows I've looked at a lot of different things. But it finally dawned on me there is something to be said for video games. There is a similarity. You know, much like there is when you take a look at the computer. From my understanding, the computer itself was patterned after the human brain. But the reality of it is, the human brain is faster than any computer on the market. Okay. Computers have come a long way. My apologies, no warning on that one. Oh, by the way, this is a live recording, meaning when I get done, all I do is double check, make sure I got the date right, and then post it. Okay. I've been working in the consulting field now, in the spiritual guidance field, for 48 years, as far as publicly goes. Reality of it is, I started doing it when I was born. Okay, because the day I was born, I flatlined, and I ran into my first set of what you would call ghosts. I just call them disembodied people. Okay, they don't have a physical body. That doesn't mean they never had one. It's kind of like the difference between a pedestrian and a driver, or a rider for that matter. If you don't have a vehicle, you walk. Well, if you don't have a body, you walk through things. It's no real big difference. Okay. Now, with that in mind, okay, you take a look at it and get things organized. Now, one of the biggest tricks to getting your life to run smoothly is to pick what you're not content with. Now, I've been looking for a way to connect with and to understand what the draw is between video and people, between computer and people. And because none of it's ever made any sense to me. None of it at all. Okay. But, that being said, I shouldn't say it's never made sense, because I've been able to help an awful lot of people. Okay, from business, from personal life, from normal, mundane, run-of-the-mill problems, bullying, whatever. Doesn't make any difference, including alien abductions. Yes, sounds weird. Alien abductions, past life memories, what most people refer to as Reiki. I cannot classify myself as a Reiki healer. I've never been trained. Okay, but I am an accelerated healer. I figured out how to teach other people's bodies how to do exactly the same thing, which is why I'm currently in the process of healing and putting my life back together. And I do mean my physical life. Now, these are a prime example. Holding my glasses that close. Okay, I physically used to not be able to see them. Now, I've got 20/20 eyesight where it comes to reading. No medication, no laser surgery or any other type of surgery to get my eyes straightened out. It was purely the understanding that they could heal, that the perfect blueprint to for the whole physical body is locked inside the cells. Now, talk to a geneticist and they'll tell you the same thing. Mind you, they'll tell you that there's missing pieces or there's hiccups. What they will not usually tell you is that every cell in the human body can be reprogrammed to do something else. Now, I love the way it was put, and this sounds like science fiction, and in a sense it may be, but I love the way it was put in the Marvel movie Doctor Strange. When you look at the CAT scans, when you look at chakra points, when you look at nerve systems, when you look at acupressure points, all of these things are all little pictures and little viewpoints of a big picture. Okay. Combine all of them, and all of a sudden, you've got a neat little situation. a whole new world opens up before you. Now understand, even on Earth, there are things called ley lines. Okay, now you don't have to believe in them. Do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. Lord knows I'm not perfect. I just have a very different way of looking at the world. Okay, so pick what you're not content with in your own life. If you know what it is, and that's the easy part to figure out, then absolutely get started on changing it. Doesn't matter what you change it to, but right here, right now is where it starts. Not 6 weeks down the road, I'm going to wait till Monday because Monday is a good day. Understand, Monday is a made-up day. Somebody came along and said, let's call this Monday. Actually, they called it something else. But somebody came along and went, this is what this day will be called. Okay. And if you look at it, from my standpoint, if you take the word today, okay, then, all you're doing, this is, today is very simple. It's also, it can be modified slightly to do. And the reason I put it that way is this. If you take a look at today, this is the only time right now that you can do something. Okay. Have you ever gone for coffee and told them when you sat down to coffee with them and said, or have you ever heard of anybody doing it, where you sat down for coffee with the person and you go, gee, I haven't seen you in such a long time. I'm glad you got here tomorrow. Okay, I'm glad we finally got to meet yesterday. People just don't do that. Now, yes, if you run into somebody 2 days in a row, you may well have been happy to meet them yesterday. But the reality of it is, today is the only time you can do anything. The rest of it, you can talk about what you're thinking of doing, you can talk about what you have done, but you can't talk about what you did. Sorry, you can talk about what you did. You cannot talk about what you're doing in past tense or in future tense. Okay, so today is the only one you can do anything. And you're the only person on the planet, regardless of how much guidance and how much insight you get handed. You're the only one in existence that can be successful for you, that can successfully change your path. Okay, now don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that can help. And this is why I encourage you, if you haven't done it, find a spiritual guide. Be that be that myself. Okay, be that a church, a temple, a coven, a support group for things like, self-esteem, bullying. There's a beautiful system out there called the Children's Crisis Line. Now, I've never actually phoned it, so I can't tell you much about it. Okay. But what I can tell you is there is help out there for pretty much everybody. Now, don't do what I did. Okay, I really encourage you not to do this. I fought for decades to figure it out on my own because, frankly, my trust level was just about non-existent. Which, and I mean, in all fairness, is not that much better. But this is why I say don't take my word for it. Do your own research, look into it. But something to keep in mind if you're with whoever you're following. Okay, be absolutely certain whatever they're telling you. Two things, make sure of two things. At least this is what I encourage you to do. Make sure they are both talking about and following the karmic laws. Karmic laws being, be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. Okay, make sure whatever they're telling you, whatever tools they're using, if they apply to them, are they using them? Okay, now this is something that I personally do. That sounds really bad. This is something I make every effort to do, and that is to utilize the tools I offer to you. Make certain if they apply to my life that I'm using them. Now, there are many times that I have faltered. Way too many. Okay, and I think I mentioned yesterday that I was planning on patching up a few disconnects that I had walked away from that I wanted to get dealt with as far as family went. Well, I reached out and reconnected. And, frankly, from my standpoint, it worked out rather nicely. Don't know entirely what it did from their standpoint. But I do know that I was content with it. I do. Now all I have to do is maintain that communication line. And if you've had a falling out with a friend, with a family member, if there is any way to reestablish that connection, to patch it up, there are some that you have irreconcilable differences. And those are the people you turn around and go, no, I'm just not going back down that road. It's kind of like putting your hand on a burner. Once you figure out that you're burning your hand every time you do that, frankly, stop doing that. Okay, but I did set out to do that yesterday. And again, it was a short-term goal, but it was one of those big little errands that I had to do for me to feel like I was making headway. Okay, and it's a real big challenge on occasion. Okay, this is the problem with being a procrastinator. And rest assured, I had it down to a fine art. But at this point, I'm happy I got that particular quest dealt with. Now it's time to move on to the rest of them. Okay, so once I'm done this video, then I turn around, I'll go have breakfast, and I come back and start writing, and we'll see where things go from there. Okay, everything is, and this is why I'm looking at it, and I finally understand when I was told life is a game. Life is a game, the game of life. Hasbro, I think it was Hasbro or somebody else, but anyway, they made a game called Life. And if you can look at life as a game, you can find a way to have a whole lot more fun with it. And that, in and of itself, may be all that I require to drop my stress level a little more. Okay, is understanding that it's all a game. We all have the same starting point, birth. We all have the same finishing point, death. It's not how long you live. It's how well you live. If you desire to become immortal, okay, it's not a question of physically living for X amount of time. It's a case of making something that lasts, okay, that lasts beyond your life. Now, for me, these videos will only last as long as the videos themselves will last as long as technology does, or as long as technology can translate them. But the message, when we get the message to living people and they pass it on to their kids, that message can carry on for generations. Okay. And that is ultimately what I've returned to do, is set this message in motion. So that for generations from now, people can realize, even if it starts off in small numbers. Ideally, I would love to see it once again hit the point where people pass it on in massive numbers. But can we get rid of the separation between which god is which and which person is the best person? Everyone is of equal value. Now, do understand, we are not talking monetary wealth. But it is, essentially, it is a responsibility, in my opinion, of those that have the insight, of those that have the wherewithal, to help those that don't, regardless of the path that the other people are on, or regardless of how they got there. Okay, when we're looking at society, and I don't mean your community only, I'm referring to the global community, mixing all races, all nationalities, all species, quite literally every existing thing. Everything. And you'll notice I said everything. That doesn't leave any room for variation. But what about this? What about that? If it says everything, it means all of it. Okay. And my goal, the reason I returned, is very simple. To pass this message on once again, only this time to help people understand, what difference does it make what name you put on something. What difference does it make what color somebody's skin is? Okay, or what orientation? What real difference? You have some pretty simple similarities between people. Okay, you all are born, you all die. You all have to eat. You all have to drink. You all have to sleep. Okay, this is just the reality of it. Now, there's varying levels of tolerance for everybody. Okay, no two people are alike. And this is why when people talk about this neat little idea of the clothing makes the person. Well, if the clothing made the person, then everybody in the military that wears the same uniform, and I've got a lot of respect for the people that have joined the military of their own country. You know, the people that have stood up and said, I've got the strength to stand up and defend my country, the people I know, and even the people I don't know. Okay, but to defend the people that are weak. The first responders, you take a look at the police, you take a look at the ambulance drivers, the firemen. Okay, teachers. Teachers aren't technically qualified and classified, as far as I understand, as first responders. But understand, the teachers are the ones that are passing on the majority of information in today's world. Okay, en masse. Now, to be clear, everybody that has a child or that interacts with anybody or anything, all of them are teachers. Every one of you is a teacher. Every one of you is a healer. Every one of you is a psychologist. Every one of you is a law enforcement person. Okay, and the list goes on. These are all similarities between everybody. And this is why I say it's time to realize that working together, we can make this world a better place. Okay, I call it better if people are getting along. Being an empath, walking amongst people that are fighting with each other, I run into some pretty interesting situations. Okay, I find that I get, because I'm connected, not only do I feel what's going on with people, but I feel what's going on with the animals. Okay, and now that I finally figured out a way to connect, to comprehend this mad obsession with people, where what I call a mad obsession, these video games. Okay, the reality of it is, I may, and in all fairness, I haven't done it yet, so I don't know. But I do know this. Okay, at least now I've got a shot, a functional shot, at figuring out how to actually relax, how to look at life in such a way that it doesn't absolutely annoy me. Like when I watch, there's certain games that that you play, and you're going, okay, you have to take this out to make things better. Now, I personally play a game called Horizon. And the neat part with that game is every time you go into this one part of it, and you clear out everything, if it's like, they call it a bandit camp. Okay, when you wipe out that bandit camp, when you wipe out the negativity, okay, immediately it gets replaced by a settlement. Okay, and this is what I'm referring to about laws have to apply to everybody. It also applies to if you're not content with something in your own life. Okay, if there is something that's going sour in your life that you're not content with, you change that. If you change the energy of that thing, okay, then what you'll find is that what you're left with is a nice little feeling of serenity, a nice little feeling of happy. When you remove all the negative, all you end up with is positive. Okay. Sort of a funny little setup when you think about it. If you look at the alphabet, N-O-P, negative or positive, your call. You decide what you want and what you desire to do. The funny part about it is when you look at the world in a slightly different fashion. If everybody turns around and says, okay, I'm going to eliminate the negative things out of my life. I'm going to modify them until I am happy with them. When you do that, Okay, there are certain people that you will automatically end up cutting out of your life. This is just part of the process. Now, those may be bloodline, they may just be people you know. Okay, but when you eliminate these negative aspects, all you're left with is the positive ones. And in my opinion, once everybody starts eliminating or altering the negative things to positive ones, that's when we return to paradise. That's when we have that world where everybody can look at each other and genuinely smile and say, well done, how's your life going? And not worry about whether or not the person is sitting there going, well, gee, you're a different skin color than me. I love the way that Bill Cosby used to do a routine. Now, he was a comedian from way back when. Now, did he have his problems? Certainly. But I love the way he put it one day. He was talking, and some of you that are my age and older would remember this. Okay. He was talking about a busload of kids that were all different colors. Black, white, yellow, brown, right? And he goes, okay, everybody off the bus. Now, because they were all fighting, they were all in conflict, and he finally had enough. He says, okay, the bus driver says, get off the bus. Okay, everybody line up against the wall. Okay, and he goes, now, nobody is black, white, red, brown, yellow. Nobody at all. You're all green. Now, everybody back on the bus. Dark greens at the front, light greens at the back. There will always be differences. Okay, but when he said everybody back on the bus, he didn't say not this color. He said everybody back on the bus. And you have to realize that if you're going to look, the moment you put a qualifier in front of whatever, okay, right then, right there, you are differentiating, and depending on what the situation, you're either making a judgment call, a difference to them. You may be showing prejudice depending on what you're up to. Okay, now the reality is, if you follow the 3 karmic laws, especially now, be true to yourself boils down to figure out a way to bring the heart and the head into balance. And the trick to that is when your heart and your head are in conflict, follow your heart, but use your head to get there. Now, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Treat people the way you desire to be treated. If you don't desire to be lied to, don't lie to people. If you don't desire to be stolen and to be ripped off, if you don't desire people to steal from you, don't steal from anybody else. Now, this does not guarantee that you'll get absolute perfect treatment. Okay, because not everybody follows these rules. Okay, then you have energy out, energy in, which simply put means whatever you put your effort into, that's where you're stacking the deck in favor of attaining things. Now, those 3 are the key factor to getting ahead. Okay, now I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, but until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.